Tutankhamun has fascinated the world ever since Howard Carter's spectacular discovery of his treasure-filled tomb in the Valley of the Kings in 1922. But the story really begins around 6000 BC, when ancient people were drawn to the banks of the Nile because of the reliable food source the river offered them and their animals. In around 3000 BC, a number of city-states merged under one ruler, heralding the beginning of Dynasty I. Dynasties 3 through 8, known as the Old Kingdom, saw the building of Egypt's largest pyramids. After an intermediate period when Egypt's central government collapsed, Egypt was reunited in Dynasty 11. The ensuing period, known as the Middle Kingdom, was a time of relative prosperity and growth. After a succession of weak rulers, Egypt was infiltrated by the Canaanites, whose leaders were known as the Hyksos. The Egyptians finally expelled the Hyksos from their land around 1550 BC. Over the next 4.5 centuries, the period known as the New Kingdom, Egypt's ruler succeeded in extending its border from Sudan to Syria. Egypt had always been a polytheistic society. In addition to certain national gods, including Re and Osiris, each city had its own local gods, usually a trinity consisting of father, mother, and son. Egyptians also had their own more personal gods for key events, such as the harvest and childbirth. From the very first, the sun god Re played a significant role in Egyptian religion. Eventually, the local god of Thebes, Amen, gained national prominence and merged with Re. But during Dynasty 18, Amenhotep III came to associate the god Aten with Re. In fact, he was even so bold as to proclaim himself the incarnation of Aten. Although earlier kings had been deified after death, never before had a king so brazenly proclaimed himself a god in his own lifetime. With his royal wife, Queen Tyre, Amenhotep III had at least 6 children, including Amenhotep IV, his heir apparent. Amenhotep III's reign was a period of unprecedented prosperity and artistic splendor, when Egypt reached the peak of its artistic and international power. Amenhotep III ruled for almost 39 years, an unusually long period for a pharaoh. After his death, Amenhotep IV was crowned in Thebes and soon began to elevate the worship of Aten above every other god. He emphasized the worship of Aten to such a degree that many archaeologists describe him as a monotheist. Amenhotep IV even took the extraordinary step of changing his name to Akhenaten, which means one who is effective for Aten. Within a few years, Akhenaten abandoned Thebes and established a new capital, which he named Akhetaten, Horizon of Aten, known simply today as Amarna. 2 temples were at the very heart of Amarna. They consisted of successively smaller courtyards leading to a Holy of Holies. Although Aten could be represented by an abstract sun disk, it had no tangible idol, and by its very nature could not be enclosed. After ruling 17 years, Akhenaten died. His son, Tutankhaten, became Egyptian's next pharaoh, although he was only 9 years of age when he assumed the throne. Early in his reign, the young Tutankhaten abandoned the religion of his father. He changed his name to Tutankhamun and left the city of his birth for Thebes. By decree, he reinstated the god Amen, returned power to the god's extensive priesthood, and began the long process of restoring Amen's temples. At the age of 19, Tutankhamun mysteriously died, bringing an end to one of the most fascinating periods in Egyptian history.